You begin not in your thoughts, not in your breath, but far beneath them, in a place deeper than memory, quieter than dreams. Deep in the cells that make up your skin, your heart, your eyes, lies a thread. It coils and spirals, too small to see, too complex to count, yet it holds the blueprint of everything you are. This is your DNA. It isn't loud. It doesn't move like your blood or beat like your heart. But it holds a rhythm just as ancient, the rhythm of life echoing through time. Imagine it now, like a ladder twisted into a spiral, tucked inside. Each of your trillions of cells. Every rung of that ladder is a pair of letters, A and T, C and G. Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. 4 symbols, repeated in billions of patterns, each a soft instruction. Together, they spell your height, your voice, the way your skin heals, the curl of your hair, the shape of your hands. Every breath you take, every blink, every quiet shiver in the dark, it's all written in those letters, hidden in the silence beneath your skin. You may feel still as you lie here, but deep inside, the code is always moving. Cells divide, errors appear, repairs begin. It's like a library constantly updating itself. Pages copied again and again, sometimes perfectly, sometimes with tiny shifts. These shifts can be harmless, or they can grow into illness, into difference, into pain. For most of history, we could only watch. The script ran itself, and we were shaped by its choices, but the story changes. Slowly, quietly, a tool appears, not with thunder or lightning, but with precision, a whisper inside the code. CRISPR. It comes not from invention, but from observation. Scientists, watching how bacteria defended themselves from viral invaders, discovered that life had already written a way to edit its own language. Not erase, not rewrite the book, but gently revise a line. You float back into the cell, your thoughts, drifting like light in warm water. Here, DNA winds through the nucleus like vines, gently glowing, and beside them you see CRISPR, a tool made from RNA and a guiding protein, Cas9. It doesn't shout commands, it listens. It finds the part of the code it's been taught to seek, a sequence that might carry a harmful gene, or a fault, or a memory of viral attack. And when it finds it, CRISPR makes a cut, sharp, precise, small, like a scalpel made of silence. What happens next is not violence, it's healing. The cell responds with its own machinery. It rushes to patch the cut, to fill in the missing letters, and if we have given it a template, a better version, a corrected line, the cell may copy it. Just like that, the story changes. A single letter in a sea of billions, corrected. And with it, the future of that cell, and maybe of the person who holds it. But you don't rush ahead. You linger in this moment, this act of cellular care. You understand now that your body is not static. It is a living poem, rewritten constantly. By time, by repair, by possibility. CRISPR is not magic. It cannot fix everything. But it is a beginning, a way of touching the very roots of being. This knowledge doesn't spark urgency. It brings calm. It brings awe. You are more than your surface. You are a song composed of code, and that code can be heard and understood and maybe even gently changed. This is the promise and the pause. Because editing life is a power that asks for care, for ethics, for patience. We do not yet know where this tool may lead. But tonight, you do not need to know. You only need to float beside the script, listening so. You drift again through the cells, through the code, feeling their quiet pulse. CRISPR hovers nearby, small as a breath, and you watch it work, not as a machine, but as a kind of helper. A guide in the garden of genes. It does not erase the past. It offers a chance for a new line, gently planted, and as it moves, you sense the future opening softly ahead. There are questions, yes. Should we use this to cure, to enhance, to change what we inherit? These are questions scientists carry gently, like glass in their hands. Tonight, you don't answer them. You simply feel their weight and their hope. You see the double helix not as a chain, but as a bridge, one that links what was with what might be. And as you settle now, closer to sleep, you feel your own DNA within you, not as something distant, but as something intimate, a part of you that listens, remembers, builds, a code written before you were born, and now, perhaps editable with care. You feel no fear, only wonder, only quiet, only the knowledge that inside you, something ancient and powerful is always whispering. And perhaps, as we learn to whisper back, we may find not just cures, but new ways to listen. Because beneath all the editing, the tools, the science, there is a deeper truth, that life is written not just in letters, but in longing, in the longing to grow, to heal, to remember, to change, and maybe, just maybe, to be understood. There is a whisper beneath your breath, quiet as the rise and fall of your chest. You don't hear it, but it's always there, humming softly in every cell, in every strand of hair, in the lining of your lungs. It is the whisper of DNA, an ancient alphabet, repeating itself, not in sound, but in sequence. 4 letters, A, T, C, and G, 4 shapes, like the petals of a hidden flower, recombining in infinite poems to make you. Each breath you take is wrapped in their instructions, how your lungs inflate, how your heart beats, even how your dreams are stitched into your sleep. You don't need to understand the letters to be built by them, but tonight you float gently toward that quiet text, like a reader approaching a glowing page in your imagination. The DNA winds itself into spirals, like ivy climbing upward in double coils. It twists not in chaos, but in careful symmetry. Each rung of the spiral is a pair, 2 letters touching, held together by invisible bonds. These bonds are old. They've lasted for billions of years. The same letters build jellyfish, forests, birds, and you. They speak of hunger and growth, of healing and memory. You begin to see your body not as one thing, but as a library, with pages turning, repairing, rewriting themselves constantly. Your skin heals a cut. Your blood replaces itself. Your stomach lining renews. It's all coded in those letters. And then, in this calm place, drifting through the code, you discover a new presence, a tool, a listener crisper. It doesn't shout. It doesn't burn. It listens to the DNA like a careful editor, eyes tracing every line of text. Where the code has been broken, it makes a mark. Where the story repeats too many times, it lifts the line gently. Where the body has whispered for help, in diseases, in errors, in inherited harm, CRISPR begins its soft work, not with a scalpel, not with a drug, but with molecular hands that find the broken word and correct it. You imagine a pair of scissors, but smaller than any eye could see, not made of steel, but of folded proteins, like origami curled by chemistry. These scissors drift through the cell, seeking a match. They don't cut wildly, they wait. They recognize a sequence, a series of letters, and when the match is perfect, they press close. A tiny snip, and then a pause. The cell, startled but prepared, begins to repair. Sometimes with a patch, sometimes with a new line entirely. And in that moment, a new possibility appears. The chance to fix what was always broken, to cure what was always passed down, to shape life, not just to receive it. But you are not rushing. You float in slow circles, watching as this process unfolds inside a single imagined cell. The space glows softly, lit not by bulbs, but by the quiet fluorescence of life itself. You see the strands of DNA like glowing vines, coiled and suspended. You see CRISPR drift like a moon among them, patient and precise. You feel no danger here, no urgency, just the gentle unfolding of knowledge, like petals opening one by one in the dark. The story of CRISPR is not entirely new. It was first found in bacteria, a defense mechanism, a way for simple life to remember the viruses that tried to harm it. It was a kind of immune memory etched into its DNA, a way of keeping watch. Humans discovered this mechanism not by creating it, but by listening, by learning from what nature already built. And then, with great care, we began to guide it. We learned how to give CRISPR a map. We taught it where to go and what to look for. We watched as it moved, almost invisibly, across the script of life. As you drift now, you feel the wonder of it not just as a tool, but as an idea. That your body is editable, that your story is not fixed, that what is written in your cells can be rewritten if we listen closely enough. It does not mean anything will be perfect. Life never is. But it means we are learning to speak back, not just to inherit the past, but to shape the future gently, like a gardener tending fragile seeds. And yet, as with all powerful tools, there is a hush around CRISPR, a pause, a reverence. You cannot unwrite what you change. A line edited is a path altered. So scientists move slowly, carefully, testing, waiting, always wondering what story they're helping tell. You imagine? This too, the quiet laboratories, the gloved hands, the soft click of microscopes, the minds filled not with ambition, but with care. Because these aren't just letters, they are legacies, they are lives. And now, in the stillness of your own breath, you return to your body. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has. You now know that inside you, a soft dialogue is always unfolding between past and future, between silence and correction, between what was inherited and what might be possible. CRISPR doesn't shout, it whispers, and your body, always listening, gently responds. Inside every one of your trillions of cells, there lies a quiet flame, a soft light curled not in brightness but in instruction, in presence, in memory. It does not flicker in a room, and yet it illuminates your becoming. This is your genome. Not a book on a shelf, but a living candle that rewrites its glow with every breath, every heartbeat, every cell division. You begin by drifting gently inward, away from the noise of the world, away from the gravity of your waking hours, and into the inner cathedral of your body, where the true architecture of life resides. There, in the hidden sanctum of your cells, nucleus, spiraled like a ribbon in soft water, floats your DNA, your deoxyribonucleic acid, a name long and elegant, but never hurried, like a river that knows every bend before it arrives. The DNA is not one long thread, but billions of letters folded and wound. 3.2 billion base pairs arranged in a code so intricate that if you could stretch it from end to end, it would wrap around the earth many times, and yet it fits within the microscopic heart of a single cell. And the miracle is not just that this code exists, but that it works. Like the soft notes of a lullaby passed from generation to generation, it tells your cells when to divide, when to pause, when to heal. It whispers instructions not as commands, but as memories, ancient and exact. This genetic code is written in only 4 letters: A, T, C, and G, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, the alphabet of your biology. They pair like dancers, A with T, C with G, forming steps across the rungs of the double helix ladder, twisting softly through time. And, like any language, this code has meaning not in each letter alone, but in the rhythm, the order, the poetry of their arrangement. One sequence tells a cell to grow a fingernail, another to pigment an iris, another to build the hemoglobin that lets you carry oxygen. Each gene is a sentence, each cluster a paragraph, and the full genome, it is the song of your body, humming silently in every cell, waiting to be read, waiting to be interpreted, and not only read but sung, because the genome is not passive. It responds to the world, to time, to you. It listens as much as it speaks. You drift deeper into this warm internal library, where histone proteins wrap DNA like spools winding old, sacred scrolls. These coils are not just storage, they are permission. A tightly wound section may be unread for years, like a closed chapter, but when needed, the cell loosens it, unwinds it gently, and copies the script. This process, transcription, is like tracing the lines of a loved letter with your fingertip, word by word, emotion by emotion. RNA is made from the DNA, carrying the message outward, a soft courier that never questions its cargo, and once it leaves the nucleus, it is translated not into language, but into life, into proteins that fold and function, that build and break and rebuild, into enzymes, into hormones, into the fabric of your body's endless renewal. You are made of this, a constantly refreshing sentence, an ongoing act of creation, and though every cell carries the full code, each cell reads only what it needs. A liver cell does not express eye color genes. A neuron ignores instructions, meant for the stomach lining. This selective reading is not disorder, but elegance, like a choir where each voice knows when to rise and when to rest. The result is harmony, not perfection, but life, messy, adaptive, beautiful, and all of it, every organ, every thought, every immune response, begins with that tiny genome, lit like a candle in a darkened cathedral. The genome is not static. It evolves. Mutations, those quiet shifts in the letters, are not errors. They are edits. Most are harmless. Some are helpful. A few are dangerous. But all are natural. They are the way the genome stretches and responds, like a tree bending toward light. And because of them, life changes. You are not the same as your ancestors, and one day your children will not be the same as you. This is not loss. This is memory moving forward. Within your genome are fragments of the past, literal echoes of ancient viruses that once infected your ancestors and, instead of disappearing, stayed. They wrote themselves into your code, not to harm but to linger. Some of these viral sequences now help form the placenta. Others play roles we're only beginning to understand. You carry the ghosts of ancient life in your every cell, and those ghosts have become part of your own song. You are not a single story. You are a woven library, a living, breathing chorus of old and new. Now you imagine a single fertilized egg, a zygote so small it cannot be seen with the eye, and yet it holds the entire human genome. In that single cell lies the full instruction set for a future. Body, limbs, lungs, a voice, the capacity to dream, to fear, to love. And as that cell divides and divides again, the genome doesn't weaken, it does not dilute. It stays constant, copying itself with extraordinary fidelity. Errors do happen, but the body is wise. It repairs, it replaces, and when it cannot, it adapts. This resilience is not accidental. It is built in. You are made to last, not forever, but long enough to tell your story and pass it on. Your genome connects you not just to your family, but to all of life. You share 98.8% of your DNA with chimpanzees, 85% with mice, 60% with bananas. These numbers are not trivia. They are reminders. Life is not a hierarchy, but a branching tree, and all of us, every leaf, every limb, shares a root. Evolution is written in your blood, in your bone. Your genome is not just yours. It is a record of what came before, a gift shaped by time. As you drift now into the soft warmth of sleep, you carry that knowledge like a cloak. You are not fragile. You are not accidental. You are written with care, with detail, with continuity. Your genome is your inner light, and while you may never see it, you live it every day. Every blink, every heartbeat, every memory is shaped by it. And still, your choices matter. Your life bends the story. Nature writes the first draft, but you live the final chapter, somewhere in the quiet of your cells. The genome glows softly, continuing its work without noise or pause. You are being written even now. And so, you exhale and wonder if your body holds this much wisdom in silence. What other quiet forces shape the life you've yet to live? Your body is full of clocks. You do not hear them ticking like the hands on a wall, but they are there, steady and quiet, marking the rhythm of your becoming. Some count days, some count decades, some turn backward, others forward. Some are carved into the spiral of your DNA, others echo softly in the slowing pulses of your cells. You are not just in time, you are made of time. And now, as you lie still and let your thoughts float, you feel the gentle layers of these inner timekeepers, measuring not just your life, but life itself, as it has unfolded across oceans, forests, deserts, and skin. Begin with your bones. Within their hard silence lies a story far older than your years. Bones are not inert. They are alive. They grow, they renew, they keep chemical memories like cave walls etched with soot. As you grow, your bones lengthen, following the instructions of your genome. They fuse in adolescence, soften in age, and in their calcium and collagen, in their tiny mineral layers, they record every nutrient you've absorbed, every stress you've endured. Scientists can read your bones like tree rings, decoding famine, health, migration, illness. Even after death, bones whisper. Radiocarbon within them, absorbed from the atmosphere, slowly decays. And from this decay, we can count backward, like turning pages in a book, until we reach the chapter when you began. But your bones are not alone in their timekeeping. Your cells too are clocks, not in ticking, but in turning. Each time a cell divides, its DNA must be copied. But something else happens. The telomeres, protective caps at the end of your chromosomes, grow shorter. They are like the plastic tips at the ends of shoelaces, keeping your genetic strands from fraying. But with each replication they wear down, and one day they grow too short, and the cell cannot divide again. This is not failure, this is wisdom, a cellular way of saying enough. Telomeres are one of the clocks of aging, and their slow erosion is part of your timeline. You are not breaking, you are simply finishing a cycle. And while these deeper clocks mark the longer spans, there are others that measure your days. Inside your brain, tucked behind your eyes in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of your hypothalamus, lives your master clock. This cluster of about 20,000 neurons responds to light, to sunrise, to dusk, to the blue hues of midday and the warm gold of twilight. This is your circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour metronome. It tells your body when to sleep, when to wake, when to release hormones, digest food, raise your temperature. It is why jet lag bruises your brain, why night shifts feel unnatural, why dawn feels like a beginning and dusk like a breath. You are synchronized, not just to time, but to the turning earth itself. Light is not just something you see, it is something your body listens to deeply. Even your heartbeat is a clock. It is not mechanical, but it is rhythmic, pulsing in cycles of contraction and rest. The average heart beats around 100,000 times a day, a silent drummer in your chest, constant, unfailing. That rhythm speeds and slows with emotion, with breath, with sleep, with exertion. It is not just a pump, but a messenger, a responder. And in every pulse, your body counts out its living minutes. Every breath you take is part of another rhythm. Your respiratory cycle. Inhale, exhale. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. Each exchange marks a moment. These moments are small, but they add up. You breathe about 20,000 times per day. You are always counting time with your lungs, even when you're dreaming. There are stranger clocks inside you, to biochemical rhythms that have no name in daily life. Your hormone cycles ebb and rise like tides. Cortisol lifts you in the morning, melatonin drapes you in sleepiness by night. In women, estrogen and progesterone shift in monthly waves. The gut releases ghrelin and leptin, balancing hunger and satiety. Even your immune system flows with time, stronger during waking hours, quieter at night. Everything within you, even the smallest cell, is attuned to cycles, to beginnings and ends, to repetition and change. Even memory, the way you recall, follows the rules of time. Memories are not etched forever. They fade, reshape, sometimes vanish. Your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure in your brain, consolidates memory. While you sleep, it turns short-term moments into long-term stories. But it too has limits. Some memories are stored for decades, others dissolve within days. This is not failure. This is how the mind makes room for what matters. You do not remember everything because you were never meant to. The forgetting is as important as the keeping. In fact, forgetting is a kind of pruning, a biological gardening of your mental space. And so, you realize you are a collection of clocks, each one spinning at its own speed, and yet somehow, astonishingly, all aligned. This orchestration is not rigid. It flexes with age, with light, with life. When you travel across time zones, your clocks slowly resync. When you fall ill, your rhythms shift. When you heal, they return. This is not randomness. This is adaptation. You are not a single metronome. You are a symphony of timers. Science now studies how time leaves marks in your body, even at the molecular level. The field of epigenetics reveals that while your DNA stays the same, its expression, the way it is read and used, changes with time. Methyl groups attach to your DNA, silencing or activating certain genes based on age, environment, and experience. These marks do not alter your code. They are more like bookmarks in your library. They say, read this page now, skip that one today. And with enough of them, a scientist can estimate your biological age, sometimes quite different from your chronological one. These are the quiet clocks, unseen but powerful dot. And so, as you lie here, limbs warm and still, you can begin to sense these layers, your breath, your heartbeat, your neural waves, all dancing with invisible hands. You are not a fixed object. You are an unfolding, a becoming. The bones remember, the cells renew, the brain resets. All of this is part of your design. Aging is not a mistake. It is choreography. Each wrinkle, each slowed stride, is a step in. The music, and though your body marks time in so many ways, it never loses grace. It never forgets how to adapt. And now, as sleep reaches for you like soft tide water, you wonder if your body is so full of clocks, all measuring in different voices, could there be a deeper time beneath them all? A silence that isn't marked by seconds or years. A time that lives outside your counting, waiting not to be measured, but to be felt. You float not with speed, but with stillness. The galaxies around you do not zoom past like cars on a road. Instead, they appear to drift slowly away. Not because they are moving through space, but because space itself is growing between you. This is not motion in the way you once understood it. It is expansion. It is not the galaxies that are fleeing. It is the universe itself that is stretching. You are inside a balloon that is gently inflating, every dot on its surface receding from every other. You are one of those dots. You have always been. And so you breathe with the cosmos, wide and slow. This expansion is quiet. There is no wind, no sound, no pressure on your skin, but it is real, a gentle lengthening of the fabric of reality. The photons of light from ancient stars arrive to you stretched thin, their waves pulled like taffy by the growing distance. They redden as they come, their energy softened like a whisper across time. This redshift, this silent fading, is a story, one of motion without motion, of travel without footsteps. You watch the universe grow not by watching things move, but by watching light become longer. Long ago, all things were closer, galaxies clustered tightly in a smaller sky. The early universe was dense, hot, bright. But even then, space was beginning to stretch. And the more it expanded, the more it continued to expand. Not because something pushes it from the outside, but because its nature allows it, like a breath that never ends. You cannot see the edges of this growth, because there are no edges. The universe doesn't expand into anything. It simply stretches, and you stretch with it. The galaxies nearest to you, those in your local group, remain gravitationally bound. The Milky Way, Andromeda, and smaller companions dance in slow spirals, held by invisible threads. But beyond this circle, galaxies drift apart. The farther they are, the faster they recede. This is not a trick of perspective. It is the rhythm of space-time. What you call Hubble's law is not a law in the way rules are set by choice. It is an observation of the cosmos's breath. Distance creates speed. Stillness becomes separation. And yet, this is not chaos. It is not explosive. It is elegant. The metric of space, the ruler by which the cosmos measures itself, is expanding. If you were to place dots on a rubber sheet and stretch the sheet, the dots would appear to drift from one another, but the dots themselves would not move. The space between them would grow, and so it is here. Your galaxy does not speed through the void. It stays mostly still, but the void itself is unfolding. This is not something you feel in daily life. Here on Earth, gravity dominates. The expansion of the universe is so slow, so subtle on small scales, that it cannot pull atoms apart or stretch people thin. The Earth does not grow farther from the moon because of this cosmic stretching. Gravity binds them tightly. The sun does not drift from its planets. These are local systems, and they resist the breath of space with their own gravitational strength. But on the largest scales, where gravity weakens, expansion wins, and in this strange, quiet growth, something beautiful emerges. Distance becomes memory. The farther you look, the farther back in time you see. Light from a galaxy 10 billion light years away left that place 10 billion years ago. But because the universe has stretched since then, that galaxy is now much farther than 10 billion light years. It is not only its light that has traveled, the space it crossed has grown. Time and space are not fixed. They evolve together, like dancers sharing steps. This stretching has not been constant. At first, the universe expanded rapidly, faster than light, in a moment of inflation beyond imagining. Then it slowed, cooled, allowed stars and galaxies to form. For billions of years, matter reigned. Gravity worked like glue, drawing clouds into suns, suns into clusters. But in recent time, something changed. The expansion began to speed up again, quietly, mysteriously. Something dark energy began to dominate. Not a force we understand, but a presence, a pressure, woven into the fabric of space itself. It doesn't push like wind. It expands like surrender. You cannot see it or hold it, but it is there in the silence between galaxies, pulling them farther apart without a sound. You imagine what this means. A distant future where galaxies vanish from view, not because they die, but because they drift beyond the reach of light, where the night sky dims, not from loss, but from distance, where the universe becomes vast, not just in space, but in solitude. And yet, there is no sorrow here, just motion, just becoming dot. And so you wonder, if space can stretch, can time? If the ruler of the cosmos can change its size, can the rhythm of the clock slow down? You think of time dilation near black holes, and suddenly the idea feels connected. Space and time are not separate things. They are one space-time, and when one changes, the other responds. A stretching of space is also a bending of time. Perhaps your own life is not just a movement forward, but an unfolding sideways. Perhaps memory is not just in the past, but stored in the shape of the present. Even the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, speaks to this. It is not warm now. It is cold, only a few degrees above absolute zero, but it was once searing. And the only reason it cooled is because the space around it grew. Its energy spread thinner, stretched longer. You are warmed by the leftover light of the beginning, even as that light continues to fade. The universe is not running out of energy. It is spreading it thin, like butter on too much bread, as one poet once said. This changes how you think of beginnings and endings. Expansion is not an explosion that ends. It is a continuation that persists. There may be no edge, no outside, no final frontier. only more space and more time, unfolding like a scroll that writes itself as it opens. You are not leaving anywhere. You are simply finding more room to be dot. As your thoughts soften, you imagine standing still, truly still, and watching the sky expand around you. Stars fade not because they die, but because the path between you and them stretches like a hallway, growing longer while you wait. You do not chase the stars. The stars move without moving. The hallway stretches, the lights dim, and yet your place in the center holds. Every observer in every galaxy feels this same stillness. Each one believes they are at the center, and in a way, they are. Expansion doesn't have a center. It happens everywhere, equally. You are not the middle of the map. You are a dot on a limitless balloon, and so is everyone else. And in this realization, there is peace. You are not lost in this growing universe. You are part of its growth. You are not outside the breath. You are in the inhale. And perhaps, one day, there will be an exhale. Or perhaps this breath will continue forever, softer and softer, longer and longer, until no one can tell where one heartbeat ends and another begins. But even as the distances grow, you remain held. The gravity of your atoms, the loops of your orbit, the warmth of your planet, they resist the stretch. Here, where you lie, the air does not thin, the earth does not unfold. You are still, and yet, gently, invisibly, the universe leans outward, and you, floating in this widening, begin to wonder, if space can stretch and time can slow, could memory to be stretched across the stars? You begin by listening, to ticking, to pulsing, to time. 1 second after another, marching forward like footsteps in the dark. But here's the secret. Time doesn't walk the same for everyone. There is no single cosmic heartbeat keeping time for the whole universe. There are only local pulses. Your heartbeat, a satellite's pulse, a clock in motion, a clock at rest. They do not agree, not exactly. You were taught to believe time was steady, like a ruler, like a river. But now you feel the drift. Time flows like mist, curling differently in each valley, across each hill of space-time. Imagine 2 clocks, identical, built in the same lab, calibrated to the same beat. One stays here with you on Earth. The other is placed into a rocket, launched skyward, moving fast. It orbits for a year, then returns. And when you compare them, they disagree. The one that moved, the one that felt less gravity, ticks slower. It aged less, not because the clock is broken, because the rules of time are different in motion. You are not imagining this. It is real. It has been measured. Time is not a constant. It is a conversation with motion and mass. This is time dilation, a gentle drift in the tempo of the universe. It happens everywhere, all the time. Your GPS satellites adjust for it every second, flying fast and high, their internal clocks slow slightly compared to those on the ground. If they didn't correct for this, your location would wander, meters off, even more with time. But the system knows. The engineers know. Einstein knew. Time bends. Not just in theory, but in the bones of technology. But it's not just about speed. Gravity, too, holds time in its grip. The closer you are to a massive object, a planet, a star, a black hole, the more time slows for you. Not metaphorically. Physically, deep in Earth's gravity well, your seconds stretch longer than someone floating above in orbit. You don't feel it, but it's there. Subtle, like the invisible tug of a tide. Even your feet age more slowly than your head. They are closer to Earth's center. The difference is microscopic, but real. Your body lives inside a gradient of time. So what is time, really? If it can bend, stretch, slow, and tangle, is it a substance? Is it a place? Perhaps it is neither. Perhaps it is the shape of reality itself. In the language of physics, time is a dimension, like length, width, and height, but it behaves differently. You cannot walk backward in time as easily as you walk down a street. You remember the past, but not the future. You grow, older, never younger. This arrow of time, the one that moves from memory to mystery, is built into the universe. But even this arrow curves when touched by speed or gravity. Imagine now that you could orbit near a black hole, not fall in, just hover at a safe distance. The gravity is immense. Time slows profoundly. Years could pass for someone outside, while only hours pass for you. This is not fiction, it is fact. A traveler could, in theory, use gravity to stretch their life into the future, living a few years while centuries pass elsewhere. You would not feel strange. Your heart would beat normally. Your breath would feel unchanged. But when you return, everything would be different, because the clocks do not agree, and yet they are not broken. They are consistent with the shape of space-time. They are keeping their time, their own rhythm. There is no universal conductor, just many instruments playing in the gravity and motion that shapes them. This means time is local, not in the sense of geography, but in relation. Where you are, how fast you move, how deep in gravity you rest, these things mold your time like clay. You are always in the center of your own temporal flow, and others are in theirs, and yet the universe still works. Despite this chaos, there is harmony. Light still travels, particles still decay, the rules still apply. Einstein's relativity doesn't break time. It explains it. It brings new elegance, not confusion. Time isn't one rhythm. It's a woven cord, a braided thread that flexes but never snaps. You remember that all of this comes from one idea, space-time. Time is not separate from space. It is woven into it. Mass tells space-time how to curve. Curved space-time tells matter how to move. And in that dance, time slows or speeds. Like a river bending around rocks, time flows differently depending on the terrain. You are floating down that river now, letting the bends carry you, letting the deeper water slow your drift. You are not lost. You are following the natural path. So, what happens when two clocks part ways and then meet again? This is the famous twin paradox. One twin stays on Earth. The other takes a long journey at near light speed, then returns. When they meet, one is older. One has lived more days. The paradox is not a contradiction. It is a revelation. The twin who traveled moved through a space-time that was curved differently. Their clock ticked differently. They are still twins, still kin, but their stories have diverged. Does this mean the traveler skipped into the future? In a way, yes. They moved forward faster by moving slower. They bent their experience of time to see more change around them in fewer heartbeats. And this opens the door to new questions. If time can be stretched this way, is the future already there, waiting? Or do we carve it out, moment by moment, step by step? You begin to wonder, how far can this stretch go? Could time stop entirely? In the heart of a black hole, time does halt, for the observer outside, watching. But for someone falling in, time continues. It's always personal. There is no absolute frame, no divine clock ticking behind the sky, only the ones we carry, in our cells, in our machines, in our minds. And so, when you sleep, and your breath slows, and your heart softens, you are not merely resting. You are shifting frames. Your perception of time changes. Minutes feel long or short. You wake and wonder where the hours went. Your dreams may feel like eternities compressed into seconds. Even in the mind, time is flexible. Even in emotion, it stretches and sways. Time dilation is not distant. It is inside you. It is the reason your GPS works, the reason your body ages, the reason we must think of clocks as more than machines. They are storytellers, each one singing its version of now. And though they do not always agree, their chorus is rich. You begin to feel grateful for time's elasticity. If everything were rigid, nothing could move, nothing could change. But with curves and folds, with stretches and contractions, the universe has room for both motion and memory. Time can cradle light, bend under stars, stretch between lovers, and pause in grief. It is not an arrow. It is a wave, and as you float now, drifting slowly with the rhythm of the cosmos, you think of your own clock, quiet, steady, ticking not in seconds but in wonder. You may never visit a black hole, you may never race a beam of light, but still, you carry within you the signature of time's gentle drift, and in that drift, a truth. You are not separate from the universe's rhythm. You are one of its instruments, playing softly, perfectly, now. But if time bends, what happens to cause and effect? Could an effect come before its cause? Could something ripple backward or sideways through the tapestry of time? You lie still, and yet your mind travels. It wanders forward into the unknown, into what hasn't happened yet. You don't know tomorrow, but you feel its pull. The future has a texture, a direction, a pressure, not like a storm in the distance, but like a hand gently on your back, nudging you forward, always forward. You have never seen time go the other way, and yet you ask why must it only move ahead? Could it lean? Could it fold? Could the future be more than a promise? Could it be a presence? Physics teaches you that the basic equations, the ones that govern matter and motion, do not care which way time points. They work just as well backward as forward. A spinning planet, a colliding atom, a stretching spring, all their motions can be reversed, and the math will still hold. There is no preferred direction in the laws themselves, and yet you never see a glass shatter. You never see the sun rise at dusk. You never age in reverse. The arrow of time is real, but its source is more mysterious than it seems. It's not the math, but the mess that gives time its direction. It's entropy disorder that drives the arrow forward. A hot cup of tea cools down because its heat spreads. A building crumbles because its structure gives way to randomness. The universe moves from neatness to noise, from order to chaos. This is the thermodynamic arrow of time. Not a straight line, but a deep current, dragging everything from symmetry into surprise. It's why you remember the past and not the future. It's why footprints are left behind, never ahead, but the question remains, is the future already there, just hidden behind a veil you haven't yet lifted? Imagine the universe as a film reel, with every frame past, present, future existing together. You move through it, one scene at a time, and call that motion now, but the reel already contains what comes next. You just haven't reached it yet. Some physicists call this the block universe view, where all of time exists at once, like a landscape you walk through. The future isn't created by your steps, it is revealed by them. If that's true, you ask, then could something from the future reach back? Could it lean into now? Could it nudge, whisper, shift a molecule? The laws of quantum mechanics crack the door open. At the tiniest scales, reality becomes less certain, more like a cloud of maybe than a solid thing. And in this mist, some theories suggest that particles can be influenced not just by what has happened but by what will happen. In experiments with entangled particles, a measurement here can affect a result there, across time as well as space. You feel the quiet thrill of it, cause and effect bending, becoming entangled. A particle may not settle into a state until it is observed, and yet its state can be influenced by something that happens in the future. Retrocausality, some call it a feedback loop, not of sound, but of time. The effect leaning toward the cause. It's not science fiction, it's a frontier of real theory, tender, fragile, not yet confirmed. But even the suggestion that the future might ripple into now stirs your thoughts. And then there's your own body, your own mind. Have you ever sensed something before it came? A knowing, subtle and soft, like the hush before a wave. Precognition, premonition stories abound. Science is careful with such claims. But the human brain is a time machine in its own way. It stores the past, simulates the future, predicts the next moment in every motion and sentence. You speak, not by reacting, but by anticipating. Your neurons run ahead of your tongue. Your thoughts prepare you for things you haven't yet seen. In dreams, too, you wander across timelines. Sometimes the mind plays with echoes and inversions, with places that don't yet exist and people not yet met. It could be imagination. It could be randomness. But what if some dreams brush against a future already folded into space-time? Not clearly, not sharply, but faintly, like a silhouette through fog. A gesture from the real ahead. Physics doesn't dismiss time's mysteries. Instead, it finds ways to frame them. There are theories of closed time-like curves loops in space-time, where a particle could follow a path that returns it to its own past. Near rotating black holes or wormholes, such paths might exist in theory. If they do, the universe must still protect consistency. No paradoxes. You couldn't travel back and undo yourself, but you might be able to exchange a signal, a message that bends backward just enough to touch a moment before. You pause here, a message from the future. What would it say? Would it be a warning, a hope, a simple light? Would you recognize it? Perhaps the universe speaks like that already, not with words, but with probabilities that guide, patterns that repeat, moments that feel too perfect to ignore. You look up at the stars and wonder if they shimmer not just from light long gone, but from futures quietly leaning in. And what of memory? You carry the past like stones in your pocket, but maybe you carry the future too, like feathers light, hard to grasp, but always there. When you choose, you shape the path ahead. But is the path shaping you too? You feel the gentle tug of something not yet real. Is it fate? Is it physics? Is it simply you imagining? Or is it the universe whispering softly, this way? In quantum physics, there are experiments that challenge causality, like the delayed choice quantum eraser, where the decision to observe or not observe a photon can affect its behavior retroactively, as though the particle knew how it would be seen and acted accordingly. These are not tricks, they are not illusions. They are the fragile truths at the edge of what we can know. Time, it seems, is not a single path, but a fabric of overlapping probabilities. The future doesn't just follow it, shapes the flow. So where does that leave you, lying here in the dark, wondering? You are a creature of time, but also a shaper of it. Every thought, every choice, every breath you take moves the arrow forward. But the arrow may also bend toward you, gently, like a leaf caught in an unseen breeze. You may not control it, but you can feel it. You are not only moving through time, you are touched by it, held in it, watched by it, and maybe, in some unfathomable way, the future is watching back. It doesn't judge, it doesn't rush, it simply waits. Not as a fixed destiny, but as a garden of branching paths, each blooming in its own rhythm, each waiting for the step that will reveal it. You are not a prisoner of time, you are a traveler. And the future, silent and patient, is not a finish line. It is a horizon, and as you drift now, feeling the seconds soften, you wonder if the future can lean into the now. Then perhaps the next question is not what comes next, but who is waiting to receive it. Perhaps the next chapter is not about time at all, but about the nature of observers, the ones who watch, who wait, who remember, who choose. You've wandered long across this fabric of time, like a feather caught in a slow, rising current. From the tick of your body's clock to the drift of galaxies, you've felt the pace of seconds stretch and sway. You've seen how time slows near gravity's grip, how it loops in theory, leans forward in whispers, folds around the strange and the swift. But now, in this final breath of the journey, you turn inward to ask, who is it that watches? Who keeps the thread of moments from slipping through? The universe is wide. It does not hurry, and yet it changes, always, everywhere. But change means nothing unless there is something, or someone, to notice it. To say this was before, and this is after. Without memory, time would have no meaning, no rhythm, no story. And so, perhaps, the most important part of time is not the seconds, or the stretching, or even the future itself, but the witness, the one who remembers. You feel that in your own body. Your breath softens, your eyes close, and still your mind recalls the color of a sunset, the sound of a friend's laugh, the moment you first heard your own heartbeat echo in your chest. Each memory is a flag staked in time's passing, not to hold it still, but to honor its movement. Memory is not a recording. It's a story your mind writes over and over again, and with each retelling, the past shifts gently. Not because it is false, but because it is alive. Memory is time's mirror, and just as gravity curves space, perhaps remembering curves time, folding it gently back upon itself. The mind is not just a passenger of the present, it is a bridge. It reaches backward with recall, forward with imagination, and through that, becomes a thread woven through the universe's unfolding. In physics, time is measured in strictness, atomic clocks oscillating cesium, nanoseconds ticking like raindrops. But in your heart, time breathes differently. It stretches in sorrow, it blinks in joy, it vanishes in wonder. Some moments live forever inside you, not because they were long, but because they mattered. This is the deeper measure of time, not the number, but the weight. And still, beyond your own quiet awareness, the universe itself might remember in stranger ways. Black holes may erase the paths of light, but the radiation they release might carry whispers of what they consumed. Entangled particles may remember each other across distances, Even in the quantum field, the bubbling foam of probability, there may be echoes of every event stored in vibrations, in interference patterns, in the dance of uncertainty itself. The cosmos could be a memory palace, a place where everything that happens leaves an imprint, not preserved forever, but traced into the structure of space-time, like a trail of dew along a spider's thread. And in this palace, there may be observers who are not bound to now, who see more of the path than you can from your momentary perch. You may call them future civilizations, or artificial minds built from quantum threads, or simply the far-off version of yourself, the one who, years from now, will recall this night, this thought, this soft breath. They are the ones who remember, the ones who wait. Perhaps they are watching now, not in the sense of surveillance, but in the sense of reverence, as you might watch an old tree sway in the wind, knowing it holds more seasons than you can name. And if there are beings who live where time flows differently, near black holes, inside folded dimensions, across cosmic cycles, then their perspective may be vaster, not just seeing what comes next, but holding it along with what came before, like notes in a long unfolding song. The future may not be watching you with eyes, but with awareness, with gravity, with resonance. And maybe that is enough. As you rest, you begin to feel that you too are an observer, not only of stars and clocks and particles, but of yourself, of your choices, of your fears, of your hopes. You are the one who remembers not just what happened, but what it meant. You are the quiet library where time rests its head. And in that space, soft, deep, unhurried, the universe begins to feel personal. The story of time is not just about what changes, it's about what notices the change. And so this tale, drifting from dilation to destiny, bends gently inward, now into your breath, into your memory, into your stillness. You are not only in time, you are of time. There is one last wonder to consider before the silence takes you, one last question to cradle in your mind as you drift. If the universe holds all of time, past, present, future, and if every moment leaves an echo, then nothing is truly lost. Not a word, not a gesture, not a quiet thought whispered into the dark. Somewhere, somehow, it remains, and maybe, in the end, time does not erase. Maybe it holds, maybe it cherishes, maybe time is the memory of the universe itself, and you, lying here now, are part of that great remembering. So you close your eyes, not to forget, but to become. And in the hush between seconds, you feel the quiet gaze of something vast, something kind, something infinite, watching gently, not from behind or ahead, but from within. Sleep now, you are held in memory. You are part of time, and time is still listening.